walk in the world and as you present yourself to the world and as you emanate in the world and as you are you in the world and as you move with what is and you tell the truth and you acknowledge where you lie, etc. As you do all those things, what happens with your power chakra is it sort of pulses. Now, the pulse that you experience is sort of this emanation and then contemplation. Emanation, reflection. Emanation, acknowledgement. There's like this pulsation or breathing or pulse feels like the nice word for it. So this pulsation in and out, in and out, in and out that goes on in you when you have the ability, when you take on the ability to move into the world from your conscious power chakra, attention. And that pulse, what can often happen is that as you expand out into, and then your natural contraction, just like your breath expands and contracts, as you expand into the world, the natural contraction can sometimes feel like, oh, I'm being a hermit. Oh, I'm resisting or rejecting the world. Oh, I'm afraid. Oh, I'm in denial. Oh, I'm not on the bus. Oh, I'm not growing anymore. And what we want to say to you, especially at the levels that you're growing, the speed at which you're growing, and the attention you're putting on living consciously, as you expand into the world, it's a big deal. And as you contract for contemplation, it's equally valid, equally valuable. It is not a mistake of some kind that you go into that period of contemplation or contraction. So let yourself have the balance of expanding and expressing the truth of you, and then if you need some contemplation time, take it and allow yourself to have it. Not beating yourself up, of course. Not abusing yourself for taking the time to handle that which you are doing. See, it's a natural thing. It's natural that when you open up, that there'll be some sort of contraction. You've seen this in your life so many times. You go out, maybe you're out with a bunch of people, and then the next day you want to be a little more quiet. So what do you do about that? It's all well and good to describe it, but what do you do? What the visionaries were telling you about that expansion and contraction, and we can already hear what the girls are going to say, right? You can probably say what they're going to say before they even have a chance. Be nice to yourself during that expansion and contraction. But it's an acknowledgement that I don't have to have all the answers. It doesn't have to be all laid out. I don't have to have it perfect. What I'm ready to do is to allow it now. Allow it to be true. Allow myself to have the truth of me in my life. To tell the truth about me. And again, we're going to remind you the difference between vulnerability and weakness. Because this one's the one that we can always replay. Okay? Weakness is when you're in a position where you don't feel secure, you don't feel strong, you don't have certainty, maybe you don't feel completely safe, and you hide or lie about it. Vulnerability is when you're in the exact same position and you tell your truth about it. When you're in a position of vulnerability, it's actually the ultimate strength. Because there's nothing hidden, there's nothing pretend, there's nothing fake, there's no way to topple you. You may crumple, but you can't be toppled. Do you understand? You may crumple because it may be like, oh my God, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with. Yeah, okay. And you kind of crumple. And then you use some tools and you perk yourself back up. But it's not like you're going to get knocked off your center. It's not like anyone's going to come along and give you the big revelation about what an idiot you are because you told your truth. Now, we've said, maybe not to you guys, but we've talked about it in a private session, the idea that vulnerability, if you cannot stand the word vulnerability, which for some of you it's triggering, we understand, you can use the word open or openness. But we would encourage you to stick with vulnerability because even though it's triggering, there's a reason why we use that word. And we use that word is because it's been misused for so long. We want to reclaim it. Most of the misused words we give up on. But this one we want to reclaim. Open your eyes to the truth of you. You must open your eyes, and by this we mean open the perceptive ability that you possess. Open the opportunity to see the truth of you. Open, open, open. You must constantly be opening to the more that exists. You have such an incredibly limited perspective of what is reality. You have such an incredibly limited perspective of what is possible. You have such an incredibly limited perspective, and we understand this. We're not judging you, but we want to help you to see that your soul's perspective is incredibly vast, and in the meantime, you're allowing yourself to live from such a narrow perspective. Do not succumb to the idea that there is only this or that. Do not succumb to the idea that duality is your only option. Do not succumb to that. It is not true. It's not even close to true. It's never even been near true. It simply was a way that you decided to experiment. It was an experiment who's seen its day. It is an opportunity now for you to open into the reality of you and have that expressed completely. It is an opportunity for you to open to the reality of you and have that expressed completely. You've never had this before. You've never lived this way. You've never, ever tried it. It's never been possible. This is why you haven't tried it. And now it is possible. Now you have the opportunity. It's open for you. Just open your eyes to the truth of you. Open your eyes to what's really going on. Open your eyes to the possibilities that exist. Do not succumb to limitation. Do not succumb to narrowness. Do not succumb to the idea that there's very few choices. There's so much available to you and so many opportunities presented to you in so many ways. So many ways you can be true. So many ways you can express you. So many ways you can offer the world your emanation. When you feel trapped, when you feel limited, when you feel like you're still in duality, just allow yourself to say, I open to the idea that there is more here. I open to the idea that I can experience more here. I open to the idea that my soul's perspective is available to me. I open to it and I'm willing to experience it. No one can override your free will. No one can get in the way of your opportunity to say no. And only you can say, I am willing. And there's so much for you to experience and see and be. And every time you feel limited, and every time you feel constricted, and every time you feel duality coming on, we ask you to say, I am open to more. I am open to more. I am open to more. Because you have so much there, but you have to open to it. Open, open, open to it. Allow yourself to see the truth of you. Allow yourself. It's not as though it's hiding, it's there, but you have to open your eyes to it. Open your eyes to it and become it and allow it to embrace you. Be the truth of you by this way. Be the truth of you. It's always there. The truth of you is right there, waiting for you to embrace it. How, we hear you scream, and we say to you, the how is by willingness. Open with willingness. And don't demand the answer that you project is going to be coming. Allow it to be something even grander. That is all. It is true that the sky is blue. Yes? But the knowingness that the sky is the air that you breathe, the sky is clouds to shade you on a warm day, the sky is a place for the birds to fly, and all the other things you know. That's what we're talking about. It's one thing to know the truth of you. It's one thing to know your, what should we say, preferences. But it's another thing to give it room to breathe. Now, some of you like to use the word love for this, and that's okay if you do. We like the word expansion quite a lot. Just let it expand into its completeness. I know this truth of me. And what does that truth expand into? Remember, it's not a stopping place. I know this truth of me isn't then that's finished. It's I know this truth of me, and that can open into something more. That can open into something more. The truth of you is the starting place. It's the starting place. And that starting place allows you to open and open and open again. Yes? Okay. So take that in and let it open again. All right? Okay. That's all for tonight. Thank you for allowing us to be in your presence. Good night.